We're blessed to have two of our parishioners come be with us this morning. And, I guess I want to begin by saying you all are no doubt inundated with all kinds of information. And at St. John's, we're doing the best we can to crowd your inbox with even more stuff. And I mean that sincerely, because the information is flying around so fast and so heavy that one of the objectives that we have at St. John's right now is just to get information out, because this thing is moving at such a rapid pace. It would be easy to just react and just jump in. But the issue really is, how do we respond? How do individuals respond? How do organizations respond? Helping other organizations that are already up and going so that we can respond with effectiveness and with focus without shotgunning and contributing to even more collateral damage or collateral problems. And so it's a really complicated situation. And so we're grateful today to have Grace Miner, who is with us from App State. And so she's going to be speaking to start off with about what her experience has been so far, and also talk about what she's been seeing, and also about ways that we can help given her interactions with her colleagues and her community members up in the Boone and Appalachian State area. And then right after she's finished, we'll have Steve Nason, who's with Red Cross, come and talk with us as well. And then we'll have some time for some Q&A after that, and we'll take it to about 9:55, and then we'll be ready to move on to the 10:15. So I want to shut up and give ample time to the two people from whom we really want to hear. But first, let's begin with prayer. The Lord be with you. Our Lord and Savior, please keep before us the needs, the struggles, the successes, the victories of the people who are most suffering from the recent devastation of Hurricane Helene, not just in western North Carolina, but Florida, and Georgia, and South Carolina, and even northwest Charlotte. Help us to be mindful of just those pockets of want and devastation and complete basic change in life. Help us to celebrate that amidst it all, you're there, you're here, and you're opening eyes and hearts to connecting with one another, even through these valleys of shadows. We thank you for Grace, for Steve. We thank you for the people who are here, Lord Christ, and for the desire to help, to serve. Inspire in us ideas, inspire in us efficacy, inspire in us efficiency and focus, that we can serve our sisters and brothers in your holy name for their sake. All this we ask and pray in your holiest of names. Amen. Grace?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace, and I am a senior at Appalachian State University, and I went to South Meck, so if anyone went to South Meck, that's where I went, here in Charlotte. I'm a psychology major, and I'm applying to graduate school for occupational therapy, hopefully for this coming year, so fingers crossed. I apply November 1st, so that's coming up. I go to a Methodist group on campus called Wesley. That's just where I found my place and other Christians to connect with on campus. This is my family, my sister Kate, me, my mom and dad, Tim and Kim. And then this is my roommate and I, and my cat that lives with us, who's an avid App State fan. Her name is Mabel. And then while I lived here in Charlotte, I was a member of EYC, and I did a bunch of volunteering around the church, a lot of VBS, just a lot of stuff. I can't even remember it all, but mostly EYC and VBS. If you're wondering, my apartment was fine. Luckily, I live on the 3rd floor on the bottom of a hill, so my car was fine and my apartment was fine, except for something fell on my roof and caused a little bit of damage, but that has already been fixed. But my home, being Boone, has been devastated by this flood, and I'm going to show you some pictures of my favorite places before the flood and after the flood. So I'm going to move around. This is my cat again. We go on walks. She really likes to go outside. So this is my cat Mabel and I on the Greenway. And this is after a normal rain. I thought it was funny because this is the amount of flooding we're used to. And then this is after. So this is the parking lot, which has floated into the Greenway itself. And then a bunch of shipping containers, which have also just found their way into the path because the water was so high and powerful that it pushed these heavy containers in the middle of our park. And I won't have any pictures. I didn't take any pictures myself during the flood because I was trapped myself. There was flooding on each side of my apartment, so I couldn't drive through it, or my car would have been swept away. And then this is another picture of the Greenway, just a little bit down near the soccer fields, which were completely underwater. This right here is a roof of a bathroom. So it was all the way up to the roof of a bathroom, and yeah. And then this is our basketball arena called Holmes Convocation Center, and that's my roommate and I at a basketball game last year, and then it has been used for a shelter for people who lost their homes, so it's full of cots and a ton of animals. All pets were welcome, so it's kind of hectic in there, full of volunteers, and it was being run by the American Red Cross. This is just a picture from the Blue Ridge Parkway where all the cows were, and some of them got swept into town. So here's a picture of the cows that made their way into the middle of Boone, and some apple trees that had fallen over and stuff like that. Hopefully they found their way back to the farm. This is one of the grocery stores that I had gone to after the flood, and that was it before and after, so they had been working all night to scoop up the mud and put it into some piles so that people could find a parking spot and not get stuck. And then this is my bestest friend's apartment up there. These are some pictures before. This one's kind of random, but their apartment had a ton of stray cats. And so I just hope they're all okay. And then this is after. This was during the flood, and then this is when I went over after to help her clean out her space. The doors had been popped open. One had drifted into the middle. The dumpsters had been ping-ponged off of cars, so a lot of cars had outside damage and dents that you couldn't pry the door open because of the dumpster. And behind these trees is a trailer park where there's a bunch of trailers because housing can be limited in Boone, and some of them came off of their cement blocks and were tilted on their side. And unfortunately, during the flood, there was a gas leak at this apartment complex, so they had to evacuate everyone out of there. These are some classrooms. We are currently out of school until the 16th, so no online classes, no in-person classes, just until they can, one, contact professors and students and make sure everyone is okay, and start cleaning these classrooms. Most of the classrooms got power back except for the medical building, which is really unfortunate because there's a lot of things that need to be refrigerated in that building, so those will probably all be needing to throw away, and the building will be contaminated until they can get that cleaned up. But they're working hard to clean up the mud and the water, and unfortunately students are unable to help with the cleaning of the mud and the water because it is toxic and they don't really know what's in it, so we're not allowed to help at this time, so that's why I'm back in Charlotte. This is where my family went to a tailgate. A lot of people tailgate, also the Melandos. They're at this lot, so if you guys know them. Unfortunately, a giant sinkhole had opened up during the storm, and no one was injured, but this is an older building on our campus. It's kind of like, I think it was a bar before I got there, but then it's just kind of like a performance area, and I know a lot of stars like Luke Combs performed there, so he's pretty bummed to see that this building is a Winn-Dixie. Ooh, you know? Right now it had already been condemned because it already had damage before the storm, so I'm not sure what they're doing with it now, but we were a few steps away from where that hole was, so it's crazy to think. This is the Humane Society where I got my cat from. And my roommate and my friend and I would always go and volunteer to walk the dogs because they need people to walk the dogs and get them out. And I would do volunteering and bottle feeding the little kittens and stuff. That was my volunteering before. And then I went and I took some water, some food. I went to help out. A tree crushed one of their sheds. And they have a thrift store attached where all the proceeds go to the Humane Society. And it's donation-based, and it flooded. So they've lost all or most of their donations, and it's a significant amount of flooding, so it'll take a while to repair. And then I volunteer with a group called Able Recreation, which helps individuals in the area with different abilities and disabilities play baseball and softball. And this is me volunteering with them a few games last year. And then this is the field for this that just happened with Helene. The whole shed has been knocked into the baseball field, and it's been flooded. And when I left on Tuesday, there was still some standing water in the field. So it's taking a while to drain out, but it's adjacent to the greenway, so a lot of water came from there into the baseball area. And then this is our local Walmart. It's totally flooded, and they also lost a lot of merchandise. It's by my friend's apartment where the gas leak was, so I'm assuming something had happened with the Walmart as well. They only had sliding glass doors, and I think those broke or just were opened by the water. And it was totally, I don't know how someone got in there to take pictures of it, but a lot of restaurants are in the area, and they also have significant water damage, significant loss of items. And this is a very popular bus stop, so a lot of buses couldn't get through there until they clean up all of the mud and products that were lost. And then, after the storm had settled, I was trying to figure out how I could get to work. So I took a lot of food donations to Farm Cafe, which is a community-run cafe in Boone where you just pay what you have, and they make the meals, and if you have money, you can pay it to them to get the food. If you don't, they give you the food for free. So I took them a bunch of supplies so that they could pump out a lot of meals, and this was their community area that you could just take what you need. Unfortunately, it is on King Street, so a lot of people couldn't get there until after the flood. A lot of people had no signal on their phones, my roommate being one of them, so I didn't feel comfortable leaving until my roommate and the two girls that we took into our apartment who lost their home were able to contact their family on their own. So a lot of people were using my phone. It was a communal phone. I was lucky to have service and share that with as many people who needed it. A lot of hotspot turning on and off was part of my big volunteering. Verizon. I know they were on and off here, but yeah. So, yeah, Verizon. But this is Bavarian Village. I don't know if any of you have loved ones up there, but it is condemned, unfortunately, now because of the damage. So everyone has to move out, and it's not just student housing. It's general Boone housing. So a lot of people who aren't affiliated with the university have nowhere to go because they can't live on campus, and a lot of housing is already taken up in Boone by students. So I went over there and I helped people get their stuff out of their apartments and to the curb. And it was just devastating because it was everything that they had. This is also on the Greenway. A whole gazebo had just flown into a tree. There's like tons of chairs stacked in it, and it was just crazy. And my friends and I walked the Greenway, and we were just picking up trash that we could pick up, unlike the gazebo, to get out of the way or moving things around so that people could safely walk if they needed time to get outside and just escape the madness. And then this is across from the hospital. It's a bunch of like medical offices and other offices that people have. Not like professors, but more business type offices, and they are devastated. There is nothing salvageable. They have to be torn down and rebuilt. This is everything that we just had to drag out, rip up flooring, rip off wall things, just everything. I saw some family pictures floating. It was truly horrible, but on the other side of this picture, there was all the office owners had got together and made a free lunch, a hot lunch for anyone who came. So that was really generous of them, and everyone just had their spirits up. They were playing some good music, trying to keep the energy up as everyone was cleaning up. So, yeah. And I want to add that this is not just in Boone, unfortunately. It's all over Western North Carolina. And we have a lot of alum from St. John's at most of these colleges. And I'm speaking for myself, but I know that they're also devastated even more. Asheville is horrible. I can't even imagine. And I just saw on my phone, if anyone knows Lucy Hepp, she had just posted that she was part of a search and rescue team, and she posted some horrible, horrible pictures that are just devastating, and she goes to Western, so up in that area. And it's just crazy that all of these people, so many college students, so many just people living in these small towns weren't ready, And a lot of people are saying, like, why didn't you evacuate? Nobody knew it was going to be this bad. I moved my car, I filled up on gas, and I put down my porch furniture, and that's the extent that I went to, because I thought that was over-preparing, honestly. I was like, nothing's going to fly off my balcony, but I think it would have, and probably smashed my car, so I'm glad I flipped it over. My mom had told me to do that, and I was kind of rolling my eyes, but I did it anyway. So that is just so many people who have been affected by this, and I know that our county isn't up here in Mecklenburg, but my parents had lost power for 3 days, and we live 5 minutes away. So it was crazy because I had either power and no water or no power and water to go home to, so I had to make that decision, but I'm lucky I had both of those decisions to make. And then I know a lot of you are wondering what is needed, and I have all of this up here. I made some thank you cards. That's a really easy and fun way to help with the first responders and all the people doing the work up there that needs to be done. And I have some links here and some groups on Instagram that you guys can reach out to. Operation Airdrop and like Aerial Recovery Group, and then the Mule Packers. I don't know, has anyone seen that? Super cute. I want to go meet them all. But they're all helping with places that you can't get to with your feet. I went on there's a lot of golf courses up in Boone, and with one of my church groups, we went to deliver water to this woman who the bridge was swept away from her house, and carrying that water through a hike was intense. I was in my rain boots, so I was like slipping and sliding. I had that big case of water, and I just was not made for it. So I'm glad that there's helicopters and mules that can do it, because I was tired. But those are some groups that you can help get your donations to get them to Boone and the surrounding areas. These are some items that you can get to these groups, or me. I'm going up to Boone tomorrow, and I'll probably stay through Tuesday, and then I'll be going back up, and I'll get ways to get it to other places outside of Boone, because they're overwhelmed with donations, which is truly wonderful. So with that being said, they're asking for monetary donations. App State was asking for donations, but don't tell them I didn't put that link on here. I only put for North Carolina because it's way bigger than App State. There's areas that people can't even get to that need the money more, so that they can build the roads, so that they can get out, so that they can contact people. There's family members that have like kind of gotten lost in the hectic area, so a lot of people don't know who is alive, who is there, who got out, all of that. So just donate to this link. It's nc.gov/donate. That's to all of North Carolina. And then just prayers. Those go such a long way. A lot of people are in this grieving period, and they're feeling really lost and maybe separated from the world and Christ. So praying for them, praying that he covers them with his love and that they can be the hands and feet of the Lord while they're up there would do miracles. And then, yeah. And does anyone have any questions before Mr. Steve comes up? Any questions? Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, for myself personally, I kept telling my parents I was going to stay up there. I was like, I'm going to stay till Wednesday. Well, I'm going to stay till Tuesday, maybe Monday night, because I was either going crazy, like donating all my energy, all of my time, or just sitting there just like crying, because I was going crazy. I've only lived with one roommate the whole time, and now it's 5, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm covered in mud, I'm smelly, I haven't showered, I'm like going nuts. So I was definitely overwhelmed with everything, with my feelings of grief, and with taking on a lot of other people's grief. And so I had to come home to just kind of not separate myself from that, but to work more positively than work negatively. Like I was putting my anxious anxiety into working instead of putting positive energy into working. So I would say a lot of people are in the similar feeling of they're just grieving for the area and maybe themselves, and just, why I've been struggling with, like, why is my house fine, but my neighbor's house is down the street? So just thinking about that. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there are. So, luckily, one of the girls that came to live with us, she is part of a club that works with exchange students. So, she used my phone to reach out to them, and she said that most of them got back to her and said that they were doing okay. I know that the football team has a lot of Australians, super random, but they were just like, this is crazy. I don't think they've ever seen this. The exchange students that we spoke to were from Spain, and they said that they don't have any natural disasters usually in Spain. And I was like, oh, so they, right, like, yeah. So I don't know. So they just were taking it all in, and it was probably already hard for them to contact family being in the States. So I can't imagine being in the States with this happening and trying to contact family, or if family even got the news that this happened if it wasn't for their students. So there are definitely a lot, but I think they've been well taken care of, or at least as well as they can be. Yeah, a ton. So they opened up the basketball arena, and then the homeless shelter hospitality house has been open. And then the university said that they will talk to students and possibly staff, I just know for students, that they will try to get them into housing on campus. But again, that doesn't go for a lot of the just general population of Boone. And a lot of I don't understand how they're doing that personally. I can't speak on it because there already is no housing on campus. They have students living in hotels. No, there isn't. So they're saying that they're going to provide on-campus housing, but I don't know where they're going to find it. Yeah. There already are.
I was wondering maybe if I could get Grace to do my presentations. It would be a step up, I think. So thank you. So for those of you that don't know, I've been associated with the Red Cross for 10 years. So just to give you some context, I'm not directly involved in this response, but I am supporting it. And a number of our volunteers have gone out into the relief efforts, so I'm hearing feedback from them and from our management. So what I'm going to do is just reflect on some numbers that I pulled up this morning just to give you some context for what's going on and the scope. You're obviously familiar with the level of the damage and the photos you provided, Grace. Give us some visuals on just what's going on there. And then I can answer any questions that you all have. So let's just get into it. So these are the current open shelters as of this morning, from Florida up to Virginia. And you'll notice this shelter here is actually in Salisbury. So if you go to a shelter, anyone is welcome, whether you're a local resident or not. And you'll get a cot, you'll get meals. Hopefully the shelters have showers. This mapping technology is open 24/7 year-round, so no matter where you are in the country, you can see where open shelters are. Here's drilling down on our area here. So we did run a shelter in Charlotte. It closed on Wednesday. I was over there supporting that. We had, at our peak, about 25 residents. There was some flooding. As Duke Energy pushed water down the Catawba River, there was flooding on Riverside Drive, so the residents there were evacuated, and we had a few show up in the shelter. That closed We did that at Tuckasegee Rec Center. Most of the shelters obviously are out in the affected areas. So this is the power outage as of this morning. So 159,000 out of power in North Carolina. The red is the most affected. I think that's Avery County, isn't it, Laura? Avery County, most affected. And then down in South Carolina, another 116,000. I spoke to two folks that I work with out of Cherokee County. They've been out of power Most of these folks that don't have power are on well water, so they not only do they not have power, they don't have water. So it's it's a real unpleasant situation. So you don't have power, you don't have food, you don't have water, and that's putting stress on folks. This is our shelter count as of this morning, actually at midnight. So you can see at the peak we were running about 1,500 people in shelters. Right now it's 906, 29 shelters open in North and South Carolina. So it looks very clean on this screen. It looks like we're organized and we know what we're doing. The reality is it's chaos. And the casual observer might note that we don't know what we're doing, and they probably aren't far from the truth. So it's very messy trying to get the coordination across it with this scope, because we're not talking about one shelter, we're talking about 29 shelters, and the management of this is really quite intense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They may relatives, their power may have come back on. As the power comes on, you'd expect that number to come down. By the way, the number one shelter right now is Western North Carolina Agricultural, which has, last night, 227 people in it. So AB Tech, which is in Buncombe County, has 152 in it. So those are the two biggest shelters right now in the Carolinas. This is a volunteer support. So right now, 806 volunteers that have checked in to the assignment. 890 have been assigned. That's just for North and South Carolina. Most of them are coming through Charlotte. So our office over there on Park Road has been busier than we've ever seen it. It's been crazy. So I've been over there trying to help people get in the door and then get out the door. And I've met people from Hawaii and Alaska and all over the place. If we were playing the license plate game, it would be, we'd probably get all 50 of them pretty quick. This chart down here shows you what people are doing, and this blue bar is mass care. So that's sheltering and feeding. That's taking most of our volunteers, 445. We have 79 in logistics, 72 doing health services and mental health. So those are big areas of demand. And these are people that have trained. So many people say, hey, I want to go help. Too late. The time to train you can help through our agency, but the time to train is before the storm, so that when the storm hits, you can get routed in and be an effective volunteer. And here's just a chart on the number of volunteers that have been assigned over time. So it will peak. I would expect this to peak pretty quickly, and it'll start to come down over time. But my understanding is we're going to be running shelters for the next 4 to 6 weeks, if not longer. The number of shelters will come down. But and then, oh, by the way, there's another hurricane coming. I pulled this from this morning, and the current track has this coming to Tampa. So. As a Cat 3 hurricane, so quite a bit of concern about the west coast of Florida, and obviously, disaster relief is a finite resource. So, if Florida gets significantly impacted, this is going to pull resources out of the Carolinas, so to some degree. So that's a quick snapshot. I think that's all I have. Yeah, a quick snapshot of what's going on. Did anybody have any questions?